Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's WordStream webinar, 9 Ways to Stay Successful in the New Google Ads. My name is Michelle, and I'm just here to get things started before I pass things off to our presenter. So a few things before we get into the live presentation. Some of you may be wondering, who is WordStream? You got this email, maybe you're not too familiar with us, and why we are presenting this material today. So basically, WordStream is very well known in the online advertising industry for our content, our blog posts, our free guides, really all things online advertising. So certainly check out our website after the webinar and you can find out all of that good stuff there. We also have a software platform that makes online advertising really easy, really profitable for businesses of all sizes and agencies of all sizes. So that's something definitely worth looking into as well. So a couple more logistics about today's presentation. We will be recording everything that we go through today, and we will be distributing that recording as well as the slide deck via email to everyone who registered. So if you have to jump off at any point, don't fret. You can expect that email in your inbox within the next 48 hours or so. Okay, and without further ado, I will pass things off to today's presenter.
Hi, everybody. As you can see, I'm Alan. I used to be an account manager on the managed services team at WordStream, and after that, I wrote content, and now I work in product marketing. I'm from New Hampshire, and I love all things Boston sports, which you will learn more about momentarily. Today, as Michelle mentioned, we're going to talk about staying successful in Google Ads by focusing primarily on fundamental skills, things that you've been doing when it was AdWords, when the UI looked a lot more like an Excel sheet than a video game, and a lot of those will still translate and carry forward to what you're doing today. So some of the things we're going to focus on are how to uncover instances of wasted spend, how to review your account activity, how to ensure device-level specificity, some best practices to adhere to, and then how to optimize text ads, optimize for quality score, click-through rate, your keywords, and finally, impression share. I could not put that there. So a quick recap. Why did Google AdWords become Google Ads? Per Google, it's because the suffix words just isn't a broad enough umbrella. AdWords does not just contain text ads. It's a place where you can advertise on YouTube and across millions of websites on the display network, and even push apps. So from Google Marketing Live, the quote at the top of the slide came from one of the speakers, and that's that Google Ads represents the full range of advertising capabilities Google offers today to help marketers connect with the billions of people finding answers on search, watching videos on YouTube, exploring new places on Google Maps, discovering apps on Google Play, browsing content across the web, and more. We can boil that down simply to that the transition to Google Ads is Google's hope that this new, simpler, broader name will usher in an understanding that you can use Google and Google's myriad solutions to promote your business in any way, shape, or form. It's not just going to be limited to text ads. So Google Ads is ostensibly a one-stop shop for search, display, YouTube, and app ads today. It looks a lot different than the old interface. As you can see here, if we go left to right in a clockwise motion, the logo is much sleeker. What you see top right is a map that's available through a few different Google resources that outlines how everything is organized. There are a lot of menus that are nested. Different things that used to be very top of mind in AdWords are now hidden. Other things that maybe you had to dig for are brought to the surface and are much easier to find. So it definitely takes some getting used to. Beneath that, you can see things from the overview tab, which makes it pretty easy to see things like day parting at the account, campaign, and ad group level. Look at device specific performance and see how you compare to your competitors. To get a direct comparison here, the old AdWords UI, very gray, very like table focused. The new UI is primarily composed of modules and a ton of color. So everything is broken out into cards, and a lot of them you can click the 3 dots and you can make them disappear, or you can make things more prominent. You're given a fair bit of control, but that also means that there's a ton of opportunity for confusion. So some words that I would use to describe the new AdWords UI are layered. Everything is nested within other things, as I mentioned before. It's very shiny and pretty. There are a lot of sleek graphics, some of them kind of superfluous, some of them incredibly valuable, and really it's going to depend on what you do and how you use the platform to determine what you can derive value from. I find it pretty visually stimulating. It's a much more interesting place to spend hours of your day than the old UI, which is just so dull comparatively. And again, it's kind of confusing, but that will really depend who you ask. So let's take a quick look at what it what it looks like. You have 2 boxes, the red and the blue, and you can change the metrics that you toss your graph at the top, and you can change the date range. Your biggest movers into some of your search queries and the individual words that comprise those search queries, and then 2 different to pick what kind of, and then you can choose your individual campaign and ad group. The bar inside of there is forefront, so the opportunity. It's a mind-blowing experience. There's a ton of different information that you can glean for better or worse. And that's why we're here today, to talk through the appropriate analogy. So rolling into the 2018, you can guess who it's going to be. But in 18 seasons with the same organization, this coach has 214 regular season wins, 68% regular season winning percentage, 5 Super Bowl wins, and 3 AP NFL Coach of the Year awards. And there's more. He's also the only current NFL coach who also serves as his team's general manager, which means not only is he responsible for his depth chart and picking plays that his team runs, but also scouting and drafting, hiring and firing, and managing a salary cap. He controls daily actions, and he controls the purse strings. If you don't know who it is by now, it is Bill Belichick. And why is Bill Belichick so successful despite having twice the responsibility of his peers? It's due to adherence to the same fundamental keys to success in the face of a perpetually shifting landscape. So Bill Belichick has been an NFL coach for decades. In that time, he's gone from being a guy who uses a chalkboard to a guy who uses, obviously that doesn't always success throughout the little things. It's things like punctuality, showing up every day, attention to detail, focus on minutia, and that yields a championship, another championship, another championship, another championship, and another championship. And I'd wager you're not all from New England and you don't all love the Patriots, so there's probably some of you thinking that he's also willing to use any means necessary to win, and that's absolutely true. So you shouldn't be afraid to work hard and work smart simultaneously in order to succeed. And that's exactly what you need to do as you transition from Google AdWords to Google Ads. Without further ado, let's kick things off with our first strategy, and that's the ability to discover wasted spend. So the big issue here is that keywords are our assumptions. As advertisers, as marketers, we are assuming that people are searching for particular things. Search queries, on the other hand, are representative of action. And the gap between our assumption and the actions taken by our searchers inevitably leads to wasted spend. If we look at the top right here, there are some search queries that a lot of them are very disparate, and they're matching out to keywords that are a bit too broad. They could be longer tail for sure, but it shows how many different ways there are that you could be wasting money by putting your ads in front of the wrong people's eyes. And obviously, our goal is not to waste money. The solution here is to add negative keywords or addition by subtraction. So to, again, return to the New England Patriots in 2016, they traded Jamie Collins, arguably their best defensive player, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl in spite of not having him on the roster anymore. Even if a search query looks like it could be really promising, or a keyword that you think should relate to your business is in your account, if it's not performing the way you want it to, sometimes you're better off just cutting it loose. To add negative keywords in the new Google Ads, you are going to decide the level at which you would like to start reviewing search terms. So that's going to be the account, the campaign, or the ad group. And then you're going to go to keywords, as you can see all the way on the left here, and then navigate to the search terms tab within there. And what that's going to do is pull in a few extra columns. Obviously, you guys should be familiar with those, and that's the search term itself, the match type that allowed one of your keywords to be triggered by that search query, and then whether or not you have added or excluded a query. It's really time-consuming to dig through a massive list of search queries, thousands of search queries, depending on the date range that you set up. So what I would suggest doing is to create filters so that you can look more efficiently. And to do so, you're going to hit that little blue funnel, and that's going to open up the ability to add parameters based on whatever you would like to search for. So if you think that maybe you don't want to be matching out to search queries that have a historic conversion rate that's absolutely terrible, particularly when they have really high click volume. Obviously, that's indicative of some misalignment, and you're not going to want to pay for it, or you're going to want to move that term to its own ad group and build out something that maybe addresses the intent that it conveys more effectively. Once you've decided what you want to use for a filter, and you can make that as layered, as broad, or as narrow as you see fit, you're going to check the keywords that you do not want to show for anymore, and then you are going to choose whether you want to add them at the ad group, campaign, or to a negative keyword list. The reason you might use a negative keyword list is if there's a term that universally you don't want to serve ads for, and you can layer that across all of your campaigns, and then you won't have to keep doing it over and over again. Basically, our goal here is to use some of the money that used to be spent on search queries that are not relevant to your business. So video of cat climbing on thing you sell, actual intel now. So you sell, you don't want to be paying tedious tasks to look through search queries on a daily, weekly basis, but it's incredibly necessary if you want to run an efficient operation. The second thing that we're going to talk about today is reviewing your account activity. So the issue here is that a lot of small business owners or clients need what you're doing, look at it at scale, and see what kind of impact it's having on performance. Really, when it's looking at fancy, unfortunately, the only way you're going to get better at doing things and the only way you'll see results is through more repetitions. And so you need to ask yourself, see how effective those actions have been. Account history, and see that maybe you haven't really been adding negative keywords, and you haven't tested new ads in weeks or months. And it can be incredibly frustrating, but it's a great place to start, a great jumping off point for developing a new strategy of recurring optimization. To review account activity in the new Google Ads, Again, you can do this at any level, at the account, campaign, ad group level, and you'll see change history down at the bottom of that innermost column to the left. Make sure you pick a manageable date range. Obviously, if you pick the history of your account, you'll see a ton of changes. But if you just want to look at what you've done in the last 30 days or the last week, particularly if you've seen something nosedive and you want to figure out what might have caused it, narrow your date range appropriately, and then you can sort here and look through what kind of changes. They're bucketed out pretty nicely into aggregate changes, changes to ads, bids, rules, addition of keywords or negative keywords, and then you can also see various status changes as well. And then in a sub-menu that opens below this, you can see the minutia, the granular changes, the individual changes that have been made, and you can begin to see what actions you're taking, what impact they're having on performance. So here, 976 actions in the last 30 days is not too shabby, pretty nice. And you can, again, use this information to discover whether what you're doing is enough and if it's enough of the right kind of action, which allows you to develop an optimization strategy that works for your account and for your schedule. If you see that you've been working on ads a lot, but it's not really having any impact, maybe you need to spend less time sitting in Excel writing ad copy over and over again that isn't moving the needle today, and focus on addressing negative keywords or splitting ad groups to get more granular with your intent. The third thing we're going to talk about is focusing on device level performance. So we live in a mobile-first world today. In fact, this year, more than half of all website traffic worldwide has come from mobile devices so far. And because Google is a global organization, they care more about mobile optimization now than ever before. You need to take that into account at every level of your advertising strategy, from what you do within AdWords to your website and what you do across social. Everything that your brand touches needs to take a mobile-first experience into account. So with that, the key questions you're going to want to ask yourself here are: how are you differentiating between desktop and mobile traffic? Are you considering differences in intent based on device? Obviously, people on mobile, depending on your industry, could be looking for a much shorter time between search and transaction, or it could be very informational with little commercial intent. Obviously, if I'm looking for a locksmith on my phone, I'd prefer to see a call-only ad so I can dial that number immediately and have somebody come unlock my apartment. But if I'm researching online advertising software on my phone, maybe I'm not trying to buy it today. So that's something that you need to consider when you're building out your strategy. And finally, is your website mobile friendly? Are your landing pages optimized not only for quality score, but for the mobile user themselves? And I'd be remiss if I didn't plug the mobile benchmarks that my dear friends on the content team here at WordStream rolled out this week. They're the parallel to the industry benchmarks that we've been putting out for a few years now, except completely specific to mobile devices. And there's some really good insights in there for you to compare your performance to. But back on with the show, some of the ways that you can optimize for mobile within Google Ads are mobile preferred extensions. So site link extensions, callout extensions, structured snippets, call extensions, message extensions, and promotion extensions can all be marked as mobile preferred. That doesn't mean that they're only ever going to show on mobile devices, but as you can see here, they're given preference on mobile, and if you have other ad extensions that are not mobile preferred and ones that are, odds are the ones that you demark as mobile preferred will show up on your desired devices. And bear in mind that if you're making mobile preferred extensions, any one of these, you should consider the fact that somebody on a phone, for example, looking at site link extensions, probably isn't going to see those description lines. You never know what Google's going to test, but more often than not, it's just going to be the site link text that they see. You want that to be short, you want that to be clickable, and you want it to direct to a page that is mobile optimized. It's no good building out mobile specific extensions in your account and then kicking that traffic to landing pages that aren't built for somebody browsing on a phone. It's going to provide the kind of friction that Google frowns on, and it's going to end up costing you money. Another way that you can optimize for mobile within Google Ads is through bid adjustments. I'd wager you've been doing this already for quite some time. You can create mobile specific campaigns or ad groups by paralleling what you already have running on desktop and adding a negative 100% bid adjustment to your desktop campaigns or ad groups, and then having a mobile specific version where you are bidding down on computers and way up on phones if you want to craft ad copy that's specific to mobile devices. And finally, you want to be able to optimize your landing pages for mobile. And Google has some really cool tools that can help you do this. And in Google Ads, they're actually baked right into the UI. So when you see what one of your keywords is rarely shown due to a low quality score, and you notice that one of the reasons that it's barely shown are that the landing page experience is below average, you can navigate to the landing pages tab within the UI, and then you can use it to take a look at mobile speed score, mobile friendly click rate, and if you're using AMP pages, you can look at valid AMP site clicks as well. And if you notice that your mobile speed score is lacking, or you're getting clicks to landing pages that aren't mobile friendly, it's definitely time to reassess those. So you want to make sure your landing pages are fast. You want to make sure that they have the right keywords on them for what you're trying to match out to. You don't want to have too many fields in your forms if you're using forms at all. That's a topic for another day. The fourth thing that we're going to touch on is ad optimization. So there's some really cool tools in Google Ads for ad optimization, but I personally don't find them all particularly useful. But the reason that their focus is that writing ads is very difficult, and perpetually testing them is important, but arguably more difficult than writing that first batch. And when I say testing, I don't mean adding one piece of punctuation necessarily, or changing by out for some other verb. I mean more like the example you see bottom right here, storage for 1 gigabyte versus 1,000 songs in your pocket, like a very different sentiment, not just a different language. Some of the questions that you need to ask yourself here are you testing ad creative with enough volume and frequency? And are you okay with giving up control over your messaging? And that second one is in direct reference to a new feature in Google Ads, automatic ad suggestions. So research by Google shows that ad groups with 3 or more high quality ads can get up to 5 to 15% more clicks than ad groups that just have a single ad. So currently a lot of advertisers are not using multiple expanded text ads. Our research says that 44% are only using a single ad. But having multiple ads, just by virtue of having ads to test against, can increase your click-through rates. So automatic ad suggestions are Google's way of creating brand new ads, variants of the ads that you have already created by leveraging existing ad messaging within your account. So if we look at the 4 ads on the left here, 2 of them were written by an algorithm, and 2 of them were written by a human. I can't poll you right now, but take a guess as to which were written by a person, which were written by an algorithm. And the answer is that number 1 and number 3 were algorithmically generated. So as you can see, they look very much as though they were written by a human being. They make good enough sense, but they don't really have enough variation that I would call them truly testable in terms of text ads. I like a bigger disparity between what I'm trying to generate a response out of. And that's why I take the stance that I'd rather test my own ads than allow Google to generate some algorithmically for me. But in the new UI, you are automatically opted into the application of ad suggestions. So if Google has suggested an automatic ad for you, if after 14 days you haven't touched it, it will start running and they will flag it as an automatically generated ad, and it will run as a variant against the ads that you have written. That is, unless you go to the settings tab, go to account settings, ad suggestions, and then click the other radio button, don't automatically apply ad suggestions. Google doesn't recommend this because, again, a lot of advertisers simply choose not to implement rolling A/B tests or don't have time. My stance would be that you should find ways to optimize the other activities you're taking in your account and save a little bit of time for implementing true tests with your ad copy. Like these. So testing positive versus negative versus wholly neutral sentiment, completely changing your CTAs. As you can see in the bottom here, that we've got a combination of both. So these are ads that we've run against each other at WordStream, both for our AdWords performance grader. One is very negative. It refers to wasting money in AdWords. And then the description is very succinct, not really evocative of anything. It's just, you are wasting, go and get your free report in less than a minute. Versus positive, it's a free grader, get more out of your ads, provides context for the information you're getting. And these ran against each other for a while. I think in display, the same test the negative one out, and in search, the positive one won out. So interesting tidbit there. The next thing we're going to talk about is optimizing quality score in Google Ads. As Google begins to shift to a broader view, not just focusing on search, but every other service that they offer, quality score will become less important in aggregate, but in search it's still king, and there are still a ton of different moving parts that contribute to your success in terms of quality score. So the Google Ads UI gives you a few different ways that you can figure out what your quality scores are at the keyword level and how you can act on the different facets of it that might be derailing performance. Just as a refresher, the key components of quality score are landing page experience, expected click-through rate, so that is over time, how often have searchers been likely to click your ads, and finally ad relevance, how well implemented is the keyword that an ad is being served for in the copy itself. As you can see here, we're generally looking for quality scores 6, 7, and up. For branded terms, we're probably going to see a 10 every time. But many advertisers are stuck below 5, which means they're going to pay more money for their ads to serve than they might have to. The new AdWords, the Google Ads UI, I can't believe that's the first time I've done that so far. allows you to compare your current quality score data with historical quality score data, not only at the quality score level, but at the fundamental components as well. So you can look at changes in ad relevance, in landing page experience, and an expected click-through rate over time. The way to do this is to implement custom columns into your view at the keyword level. So you're going to modify columns for keywords. You'll select quality score. And if you don't want to look at every facet because it's too overwhelming, that's totally cool. You can roll them in one at a time. But these are all the boxes you want to check. You want quality score. You want your historic quality score, obviously, but you also want expected click-through rate, ad relevance, landing page experience, and their historical counterparts as well. And what that will do is pull up what you see at the bottom of this slide, where we can see our current quality score, our historic quality score. So everything matches out evenly here. No change. But what's cool is that you can segment by day based on the time period that you're looking at. And you can see when you implemented different changes and how it improved different facets of your quality score. So we can see here, for example, that an improved landing page led to a return from below average back to average in landing page experience, and improved ad copy kicked our expected click-through rate up from below average to average, bringing our overall quality score from a 3 to a 7. And obviously this is pretty in-depth analysis at a very minute level, so it can be pretty tedious, but it's great to know what things you're changing and where they're moving the needle. The next bucket of optimization we're going to talk about is click-through rate. Obviously, you know this, that you need the right people to click your ads in search. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money. The problem is there are millions of people using Google on different devices, whether with their hands or with their voice at any given second. And there are almost as many levers that you can pull that have the potential to impact whether or not those people click your ads. But in the context of Google Ads, we're going to talk today about how you go about adjusting your bids and how your account is built. So the overview tab in Google Ads gives you the ability to look at the campaign level at locations, day parting, and devices. And you can click into any of these, and you can adjust your bids accordingly. So this is something that you've probably been implementing in your account for some time, but these were nested in menus and comprised of columns, as opposed to these nice aesthetically pleasing cards that you can glean information from without having to scan through a spreadsheet. So this is a great way to go about implementing changes to your bids and ensure that your ads are serving to the right people at the right time. One of the other things that you can do is to implement ad group level bid adjustments when possible. So the audiences, demographic, and devices, you can actually make changes all the way down to the ad group level, not just campaign or account. So what we have on the screen here are the different ways that you can implement audience bid adjustments in search. So you can use demographics, obviously, and we'll elaborate on that in just a second. But you can also use in-market remarketing and similar audiences. And here you're definitely going to want to make sure that you stay in observation mode, not targeting. Observation will allow you to even if you just have a 0 bid adjustment, so you're not actually using the audiences, you can look at the difference between performance across audiences and then decide whether or not you would like to make adjustments. So that's a pretty low risk way to learn more about the audiences that actually want to interact with your ads. And if you implement them all the way down to the ad group level, you just have more control over what you can do moving forward and how that strategy can translate across other networks, whether that's display or onto Facebook. Like I said, to expand on demographics, while you can make bid adjustments just using age, gender, and household income, this becomes incredibly valuable when you combine them, and you can look at the most minute subsets of your audience and how they interact with your ads. So this will break down to every combination of demographics that are available to us, spread across age, gender, and household income. So here is just the top handful: 18 to 24-year-old female in the top 10% of earners, versus all other age brackets for that same group. And then beneath that is thousands of rows of different permutations of demographic audiences. This information can be used to inform your bidding. It can also be used to develop demographic exclusions, which might seem a bit drastic, but you have to be willing to exclude some potentially valuable searchers in order to free up budget to pursue your ideal customers. The next thing we're going to focus on is keywords, and when I say that, I primarily mean long tail keywords. Obviously, these are going to be longer, more specific phrases that the people who search for them are going to know what they want. It's very clear what their intent is in looking at the search, and if there happens to be some kind of commercial bent to it, they're incredibly valuable to your business. Again, as voice search becomes more popular, you can dig through your search queries and you can see instances through which people have found you using voice search, which is pretty cool. And you might not see enough volume to warrant bidding on, "Hey Siri, where is the nearest Best Buy," or whatever, but that day is probably coming. Outside of voice, though, you want to ensure that you have a healthy mix of single word keywords, so very broad, probably not going to result in conversion, but make for a great wide net to pull in search queries and figure out what you need to be bidding on. And then the drivers of conversion, which will be your longer tail words, those 3+ word keywords. And obviously the best way to uncover those is to dig through your search queries. Unfortunately, there is no way to sort by number of words in query from the search queries tab. So you'd either have to export or just dig through them one at a time to try to find long tails. As you can see in this screen cap, there were 8,881 different queries to sort through here. And I don't know about you, but that's certainly not how I would like to spend my day. The solution to uncovering new opportunities here, then, at least within Google Ads, would be to use the updated keyword planner. Now, again, we run into an issue where we can't explicitly sift by the number of words within a keyword. So we're not going to be able to say, "Hey, give me the magic pile of long tail terms." But scrolling through this list might be a bit more manageable and give you some seed terms that you can start appending other language to and develop your own long terms without having to dig through your search queries. Another interesting facet of the updated keyword planner is the ability to have these nice little visuals where you can get breakdown by location, by platform and device, and then you can just look at general volume trends. The next thing we're going to talk about is search impression share. So basically, the keywords that you bid on are searched a finite number of times, and you have a finite budget. It's unlikely that your budget is going to cover every instance of the keywords you're bidding on being searched. And increasing impressions means more opportunities for clicks, and if you're doing everything else that we've talked about today right as well, more opportunities for conversions. So you need to be able to say that you have a firm handle on where you're losing impressions and why, whether it's due simply to the fact that you need to be spending more money or because you're being outranked by your competitors. And the quickest way to figure this out is to implement the ad search lost impression share due to rank column at the keyword level within Google Ads. So this is going to estimate how often your ad didn't show due to poor ad rank. And just as a refresher, ad rank is what determines your ad position and whether your ad is able to show at all. And it's calculated using bid, ad and website quality, context of search, ad rank thresholds, and the expected impact of extensions and other ad formats in the auction. So this is going to show you where you're losing to competitors versus where you're losing based on a lack of ad spend. One thing that you can do here outside of optimizing your quality score and optimizing for click-through rate using what we've talked about previously, you can use some of the insights as to the other people who are showing up for the terms you're bidding on to develop competitor campaigns. I'd assume you have a good handle on who your competitors are at this point, but this is a good way to uncover new ones, people who might be bidding on some of the broader top-of-funnel keywords that you too are trying to serve ads for, who might fall in different industries. So just to recap the 8 things that we've talked about so far, some of the ways to stay successful in Google Ads are to discover instances of wasted spend throughout your campaigns, to review account activity to make sure that the actions you're taking are actually providing value, to drill down to the device level and make sure that you're optimizing your ads, your extensions, and your bids based on mobile and desktop traffic, to optimize your text ads, your quality scores, your click-through rates, your keywords, and impression share. And that's a lot. That's a full week of work for somebody. And yeah, you have to do that. And the 9th thing that we're going to talk about today is running our performance grader. That's basically going to distill all of what I have just run through that you're going to have to uncover in Google Ads into a single report that will give you some action items that you can take into your account and begin improving it, which will allow you to spend less time digging through nested menus and more time wearing Vibrams on a beach somewhere nice.
Awesome. As always, Alan, really, really great content. We got lots of great feedback for the Pats, so we love you all for that. Some of you not so nice about the Pats, but that's okay. We love you too. Other things that came in through the questions column here, lots of account-specific stuff, keywords to your industry, ad formats for your industry, for the size of your company, etc. All really great questions, and we definitely, in addition to the grader that Alan was talking about, we have a team of really awesome Google Ads certified experts here at WordStream. So if we don't get to your questions, which unfortunately we're probably not going to have time to get to them all, you want to dig a little bit deeper into your specific account, just go ahead and let us know here, and we'll get that set up for you. So while you all are indicating that in this poll here, we're going to get to some of those questions that came in for Alan. Okay, Alan. So one area that got a lot of questions is this automatic ad creation. Seems good, robot, human, couldn't really tell. Can you just go over again why you suggest maybe turning it off and maybe any other better ways to test your ads?
Sure. So obviously, if you simply do not have the time, patience, or desire to write variations of your ads, it might make sense to leave it on so you're testing something. My issue with the feature is that you're spending money, and it would be best to have the last say on the representation of your brand that's going out into the world, particularly when you're paying for it on a click-by-click basis. And I also just think that an A/B test should be a bit more drastic than inverting a headline. There's certainly value in doing that, but most of us don't test enough anyway, and we would be better served testing big concepts against one another versus like syntactical things.
Okay, awesome. So another question that came in, it might be a little tough for you to answer, Alan, but I'm going to test you. So this person, you only have 15 minutes a day to spend on Google Ads. What do you think is the most important things to get to?
Oh, man. So you might be a person who would benefit from the automatic ads. But I would say reviewing search queries to add negative keywords and trying to test variants in your ad creative. Adjusting bids is not a time-consuming thing. You can build filters or rules that can handle that for you. But personally, I would rather take a look at search queries and see what's surfacing my ads, and I would like to have control over the information that is being presented to those people who have searched for whatever I'm bidding on. So I would say that the two places to spend your time are digging through search queries and writing better ad creative.
Awesome. Great answer. Someone else, or one other area of the presentation that got a lot of questions, those benchmarks that you showed us, can you tell us a little bit more about what those are, how WordStream got them, where they can be found?
Sure. So I want to say the post on our blog went out 2 days ago. Could have been yesterday. And so for the last 3 or 4 years, our senior data scientist, Mark Irvine, has been using a combination of various data sources, all of which are outlined in the posts themselves, but to get an idea as to performance in both search and display, broken down by industry across a handful of key performance indicators. The most interesting ones to the majority of you will probably end up being cost per click and click-through rate. But that's what those are. So if you go to wordstream.com/blog, it was published either yesterday or the day before. The floating head next to it should say Gordon Donnelly, and they were put together by our data science team and our awesome design team here.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll just reiterate some of that stuff that Alan was saying. Our benchmarks are super popular. Everybody loves them, so definitely check those out. And if you're going to do so, let's just plug that AdWords Google Ads Grader again. The report that you'll receive lines up really nicely to the metrics that we outline in those benchmarks. So if you haven't done so, it's definitely worth it. All right, so we've got time for just one more question here today. Alan, a lot of the questions that came in are in relation to audience members who are B2B. Anything in particular that's particularly important to their business? A lot of questions about demographics and things like that and how that can apply to them. I know that's pretty vague, but any big pointers for them?
Yeah. So this is definitely an area where you might want to focus heavily on that device-specific segmentation. For a lot of B2B advertisers, mobile is going to be more expensive from a conversion perspective, unless you're optimizing specific offers for mobile searchers. So definitely segmenting and adjusting your bids based on device is important for B2B. And then, like I said, it's okay to eliminate big swaths of demographics from your search campaigns if they don't align with your customer personas. So I think that a big thing that a lot of businesses overlook is developing detailed personas of the people who they think should be purchasing their product, or the people who do purchase their product, and then aligning that to both search and demographics, and overlaying that to just create a more effective campaign overall.
Awesome. Such good stuff. My good friend Alan, thank you so much for sharing those insights with us and everybody on the webinar today. For you all, just another reminder, we did record everything today, so if you missed something, don't worry. Just check that email that you used to register with. Within the next 48 hours or so, you should see an email from us with the recording of the webinar as well as a slide deck, so feel free to share that along, review anything you may have missed. And also, we've got our free Google Ads Performance Grader. You can get that from our site. Also, you may have not taken us up on the chance to connect with one of our experts today. Don't worry, if you change your mind down the line, just head to our website and you can access that through there as well. So that does it for today's presentation. Thank you again to Alan, and thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you again soon.